Going to the GP, asking the GP, what do you think? Oh, I'm not sure. Going to one paediatrician, telling me there's nothing wrong with him. I'm just an older mother, so I'm worried. Going to back to the GP, saying my daughter is his age, she doesn't act like this. You're right, there's something wrong. Let's go to another paediatrician. Coming out of the other paediatrician in tears, such a bad prognosis. You know, this child will never walk, will never talk. You should think about putting him into a home, suggesting a home for me and everything. I'd driven in the car with Matthew, so distraught I couldn't get in the car. I got a taxi home, walked in the door, my husband looked at me, I was crying. I said, he's something like, he's autistic. We didn't even know what autism was. Up till Matthew being diagnosed, I can honestly say I know about 5 sentences about autism. But then once he was diagnosed, we read, you know. Yeah. But most of it was from America and stuff like that. You know, nothing really about New Zealand. We did that. We were sad that we had to do that as a family. But we said, okay then. And then that was the first time that I went to the paediatrician and he suggested going on medication. And I really was not happy about going the road down to medication. But Matthew was not sleeping. He was very hyperactive. He wasn't able to be controlled at school with the hitting and stuff like that. So Mandy, who was at school, who was a special ed teacher, she came with me to see a paediatrician who specialised in children like Matthew, and we put him on medication.
Is that for his ADHD?
ADHD, he was very, very hyperactive. I mean, he only slept 3 or 4 hours a night. Put Matthew in the car and just go for a drive at 3 or 4 in the morning. And Pack and Save was open during 24 hours. So we'd go to Pack and Save, we'd get you a drink and some lollies, because he didn't eat much. And he would drink and have lollies, and then he'd fall asleep. And then we would wait, then we'd park it maybe, not every day, but sometimes we would just park it at maybe Princess Beach, and he would sleep and I would sleep. And then we'd come home at 6, 7 in the morning.
That's the second time I've heard about like driving the autistic kid in car.
Yeah.
That's the second time. Is it effective?
It's very effective. It was effective for us because either we're staying home and the whole family was awake at 4 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock. Didn't seem right because my husband's a fisherman. He was going out at 3 or 4 anyway. So so we decided that we just did what suited our family, and that suited us, you know. But once Matthew was on the medication, he'd calmed down quite a bit, and it was good. I mean, I really did not want to go down the route of medication, but at the end of the day, I thought this is how it's going to have to work. And we went to the medication. So eventually he got going. Once he calmed down with the medication, he was more able to be controlled. He went to school from 9 to 3. Yeah, and that was good for him. That was good for us.
I heard about the fishing. Did you go fishing with your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he likes to throw rocks with you, don't he?
I like to throw rocks.
Yeah, at the sea. Yeah.
Have you caught any fish?
No, probably not.
And then the police came and took him down to the police station, waited for a phone call. The thing is, I thought my husband had him, my husband thought I had him, and then when I called everyone for dinner, no one had him. Where's Matthew, you know? I mean, he gave us so many frights over the years. I remember one morning getting up, he wasn't in his bed, and I thought, oh, God, where is he? And we lived on the Paraden this time, and I looked out the gate, and the bus had stopped outside our gate. I thought, oh my God, he's smashed underneath the bus. And then the goal was always that he was going to get the bus to Wellington High and back on his own. So he'd been going to Wellington High for about 2 terms, and I said, this term, Matthew, we're going to learn how to get the bus. So we learned how to get the bus. So I would watch him get the bus, and I'd follow him.
You follow on a separate car? Or?
In the car, yeah. Anyway, we were up to about our 3rd week, and I was still following him. And he got off at Wellington High. I thought, oh, he's doing this really well. And the bus driver got off the bus too, and he said to me, look here, lady, I've watched you for 3 weeks following your son. I think you're the one that needs to grow up and leave the boy alone. So since then I didn't follow him. And then there was a little girl, a young lady up the road that she lived in the same street as us, and I just said to her, just make sure that Matthew gets the bus home every day. And she would just discreetly keep an eye on him and sit with him. And he learned to go to Wellington High on his own when he was about, how old were you at Wellington High? About 14?
About 14.
Yeah, because he'd been 2 years at Hoswell. Yeah, and then he learned how to go, and so the next transition, of course, was when he went to World Tech to learn how to get the bus from Island Bay to the railway station to Waltech, and he went there for 2 years and he learnt quite a bit, and he had started doing the work experience at the supermarket, which was really good. So Waltech was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, then Wednesday was a day off, and that's when he would go to the supermarket. And he really enjoyed that, and he learnt to get the bus to the supermarket and back, and he really enjoyed that. And then by the time he'd finished Waltech, they said to him, he can start work. He hadn't started working paid work then, so he went to Maranga and learnt and stayed there. And Maranga teaches them skills, for life skills. And then once he got the job at supermarket, he would just go to Maranga on the days or on the times that he wasn't at the supermarket.
Set the shelves and do the packing bags at the checkout counter and clean the kitchen dishes and the kitchen staff room and clean the sanitize with the baskets and do the stacking shelves and doing...
What about cardboard?
I did the cardboard.
Messy's into recycling big time. He loves recycling.
Into the recycling.
Yeah, he stacks the cardboard and stuff like that. So he works, what days do you work, Messy?
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays.
Well, having 4 older boys, I think the secret to, boys are pretty rowdy with sport. Sport was a thing to be doing.
Right.
So, as soon as they could literally walk, they were into cricket and into soccer. Being Italian, soccer's really, the in thing. So the boys always play. I mean, I remember Saturday morning having Matthew, 6 months old. Joe seemed to go always fishing on a Saturday morning because, you have to go with the weather. So I'll have Matthew on one hip, the 4 other boys in the back seat. I'd go to Karori, to Island Bay, and just run around the soccer field. Hardly even watch a game because I was so busy picking one up and dropping the other one off. But, so I think we got Matthew into sport because he was very hyperactive. And it was, and a friend of mine sent me a text she's got 2 special needs children. She said to me, Matthew would probably benefit from going to Special Olympics. So, and when we'd heard about a hip hop group, that wasn't Special Olympics, it was just a group of mothers that put a hip hop group together. And so Matthew joined the hip hop group. Well, Matthew got a lot of love, a lot of understanding, a lot of caring. He's 4 older brothers and his dad. No one ever complained about this little kid. I mean, we used to go out for dinner every week, and at one stage we couldn't go to dinner everywhere. Because I remember once we went to Valentine's restaurant, and he just went there and put all the food on the floor and stuff like that. So we were never going anywhere. If we had a family wedding, one of us would stay home and look after Matthew, and then they would go to the wedding with the kids. And that's what it got like. But the goal was always that Matthew was going to be a part of everything. It was just going to take more time. Yeah. And that, so when my sister came back from overseas and was going to get married, she said to me, I want Matthew to be page boy. Autism's a label, but you need to forget the label and just live as normal life as possible. And then things might take a bit more time, but I honestly think that eventually you get there. Yeah, and I think that's what, you've got to give hope to people. I think, autism is about hope, about making sure that you give your very best to your child, and and then in return they'll do everything they can. They'll do what they're capable of. If they're not capable of something, they'll let you know. You step down a level and you start again. There was times when I thought, Messy's never going to be able to do this, but no, he was surprised us every time. Then I'd go back and forget about it for 6 months. Then I'd go, he can read, he can write. I didn't think he was going to be able to read and write. He reads labels. He's very good at keeping things in order and stuff like that. I mean, when they were changing the supermarket round, I was really worried because he's got a photographic memory, so he remembered where everything was. So they had to relearn everything, and which was really good. And he's relearned everything.
Takiwātanga in his, her, their own time and space.
Being cool. The kids that are in his class that have autism, super cool.
Autism's about a different perspective on life.
And once you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person.
There is nothing wrong with having autism, The hardest thing with autism and intellectual disability and that is sometimes accepting it.
They bring change. They are non-judgmental.
Being different ways to thinking.
I'm autistic
if you don't look autistic, it is a very ableist statement.
Autism's a label. Forget the label and just live as normal life as possible. Autism is about hope.
Takiwātanga. Love Not Cure, Exploring Autism, One Strength